Have you ever looked at your own life and wondered why you keep fighting the same battles again and again, even when you know exactly what needs to change? You tell yourself this is the last time. The last time you will waste your time, the last time you will quit early, the last time you will let fear control your decisions, but somehow days pass, then weeks, then years. And deep inside, a painful question starts growing louder. What if I am the one standing in my own way? That question hurts because it forces you to face something most people spend their whole lives avoiding. The greatest enemy is not outside you. It is the version of yourself that keeps choosing comfort over growth, the version that waits for motivation instead of building discipline. The version that dreams of a better life while repeating the same destructive habits every single day. And the terrifying part is this: life does not wait for you to figure it out. Time keeps moving. Your potential keeps fading, your excuses keep getting stronger. Meanwhile, there is another version of you trying desperately to break free, a stronger version, a calmer version, a focused version. The version that does not panic under pressure, the version that wakes up with purpose instead of confusion. The version that no longer needs validation from the world because it has already earned respect from itself. That version of you is real. But right now, it is buried under distraction, fear, laziness, doubt, and emotional chaos. Miyamoto Musashi understood something most people never realize. A man who cannot control himself will eventually lose control of his life, not all at once, slowly, quietly, through small daily decisions that weaken the mind little by little. Every time you ignore your responsibilities, you weaken yourself. Every time you break promises to yourself, you weaken yourself. Every time you choose temporary comfort over long-term growth, you weaken yourself, and eventually you stop trusting yourself completely. This is why so many people feel stuck. They are fighting life without first mastering their own mind. They want confidence without discipline, peace without self-control, success without sacrifice, but life does not work that way. The truth is, your mind is either your greatest weapon or your greatest prison. There is no middle ground. If you do not train it, it will betray you. It will convince you to stay comfortable when you should be growing. It will convince you to stay silent when you should speak. It will convince you to quit when you are one step away from transformation. That is why this message matters, because once you learn to master yourself, everything changes. Your emotions stop controlling your decisions, your focus becomes stronger, your discipline becomes sharper. You stop reacting to every difficulty like a victim, and you begin moving through life with clarity and purpose. Imagine how powerful your life would become if your mind finally worked for you instead of against you. Imagine waking up without mental chaos, without constant overthinking. Without needing approval from everyone around you. Imagine becoming so mentally strong that failure no longer scares you because you trust yourself enough to keep going no matter what happens. That is the reward waiting for the person who chooses self-mastery. And the beautiful thing is this: you do not need to become perfect overnight. You only need to stop surrendering to the weaker version of yourself every single day. Because the moment you take control of your mind, you begin taking control of your future. And that is where real power begins. The hardest truth you will ever accept is that your feelings cannot always be trusted. Your emotions change every day. Your motivation rises and disappears. Your confidence grows and collapses depending on circumstances. And if your actions are controlled by temporary emotions, your entire life becomes unstable. This is why so many people stay trapped in cycles they secretly hate. They wait to feel motivated before taking action. They wait to feel confident before chasing opportunity. They wait to feel ready before changing their life. But the people who transform themselves understand something different. Discipline matters more than emotion. Miyamoto Musashi trained himself to act with precision regardless of how he felt. That is real power, not intensity that lasts one day, not motivation that disappears after one failure. Real power is consistency, the ability to move forward even when your mind begs you to stop, because your mind will test you. It will whisper excuses that sound reasonable. You deserve a break, you can start tomorrow, one more distraction won't hurt. but every small excuse slowly weakens your identity. Every moment of avoidance teaches your brain that comfort is more important than growth. And over time, your own habits begin controlling you like invisible chains. This is how people lose themselves. Not through one catastrophic moment, but through repeated surrender to weakness. The dangerous part is that comfort feels safe in the beginning. It feels harmless. You avoid difficult conversations. You delay your goals, you escape into distractions because they temporarily numb the pressure inside your mind. But comfort slowly steals your future. Days become routine. Your energy becomes lower. Your confidence disappears, and eventually you begin living far below your true potential. Deep down, you know when this is happening. That is why some people feel exhausted even when they are physically resting. Their soul is tired because they are disconnected from purpose. Human beings were not designed to endlessly consume comfort. They were designed to grow, struggle, evolve, and overcome. That is why difficult challenges often awaken the strongest version of you. Think about the moments when you felt most alive. It was probably not during comfort. It was during struggle, during moments when you had no choice but to become stronger. Because pressure reveals strength you did not know existed inside you. Musashi understood this deeply. He knew that every disciplined action sharpens the mind. Every difficult decision builds inner stability. Every moment you resist weakness strengthens your character, and character is everything. Because when life becomes painful, talent alone will not save you. Motivation alone will not save you. Intelligence alone will not save you. Your habits will decide your future. The habits you repeat daily are shaping your identity right now. Every action is teaching your brain who you are. When you continue despite resistance, your mind learns resilience. When you stay focused despite distraction, your mind learns control. When you keep promises to yourself, your mind learns self-respect. This is how transformation actually happens, quietly, daily. Through repetition, not through massive, dramatic changes, but through small acts of discipline repeated until they become part of your identity. And once that identity changes, everything around you changes too. You stop seeing yourself as weak. You stop speaking like someone defeated by life. You stop waiting for permission to become powerful, because confidence is not built by words alone. Confidence is built when your actions prove that you can trust yourself. That kind of confidence cannot be destroyed easily. It survives failure. It survives rejection. It survives chaos because it was built through struggle, not comfort. And this is why self-mastery changes every part of your life. When you control your mind, distractions lose power over you. Fear loses power over you. Temporary emotions lose power over you. You become focused, grounded, dangerously disciplined. And once a person reaches that level of inner control, life itself begins to respond differently to them. Most people never realize how much of their life is controlled by noise, endless opinions, endless distractions, endless pressure to become someone the world approves of, and slowly, without noticing it, they lose connection with themselves completely. They become reactive instead of intentional. They move through life on autopilot. They wake up tired. They chase temporary pleasure to escape permanent emptiness. And the worst part is that this kind of life becomes normal. A distracted mind no longer knows how to sit in silence. It constantly needs stimulation because silence forces truth to appear. The truth about wasted time, wasted energy, wasted potential. Silence exposes the gap between who you are and who you could become. That is why so many people avoid being alone with their thoughts. But Miyamoto Musashi understood something powerful. A man who cannot sit peacefully with himself will never fully control his life, because clarity is born in silence. Strength is built in silence. Discipline grows in silence. The world teaches people to constantly look outward for answers, more entertainment, more validation, more approval. But real transformation begins when you finally turn inward and study yourself honestly. Study your habits, study your reactions, study the patterns that keep sabotaging your growth. Because awareness changes everything. The moment you become aware of your mental weakness, you stop being unconsciously controlled by it. Suddenly, you begin noticing how fear influences your decisions. You notice how distraction steals your focus. you notice how emotional impulses push you away from your goals. And once you see those patterns clearly, you can begin breaking them. This is why self-awareness is power. Most people think strength is loud, aggressive, dominant, but true strength is calm. Controlled, focused, it does not panic when life becomes difficult. It does not collapse under pressure. It remains steady because it has learned mastery over the internal world. That kind of inner stability is rare now. People are emotionally exhausted because they react to everything. Every opinion hurts them. Every setback breaks them. Every failure makes them question their worth. Their peace depends entirely on external circumstances. But when you master yourself, your peace no longer depends on the world behaving perfectly. You stop needing constant validation. You stop chasing approval. You stop wasting energy trying to prove yourself to people who are lost themselves. And suddenly, your mind becomes clear. You think better, you decide better, you move differently because focus is a weapon. Musashi trained his attention like a blade. He understood that where attention goes, energy follows. If your attention is weak, your life becomes weak. If your attention is scattered across distractions, your potential becomes scattered too. This is exactly what modern life does to people. It fragments their focus until they can no longer commit deeply to anything. Their mind becomes addicted to quick pleasure and constant stimulation, and an addicted mind cannot build greatness. Greatness requires depth of thought, depth of discipline, depth of purpose. That is why you must protect your mind like your life depends on it, because it does. The thoughts you repeat daily become your reality. The environments you tolerate shape your mindset. The people around you influence your standards without you even realizing it. Everything enters your mind either as fuel or poison. And if you are careless about what you allow into your mental space, weakness slowly becomes your identity. This is why powerful people guard their energy carefully. They understand that not every battle deserves attention, not every opinion deserves emotion, not every distraction deserves focus. Sometimes growth requires separation. Separation from chaos, separation from negativity, separation from habits that are quietly destroying your future. Because once your mind becomes disciplined and clear, something incredible begins to happen. Fear loses its grip on you, emotional noise becomes weaker. Your purpose becomes stronger than your impulses. And for the first time in your life, you stop feeling like a prisoner inside your own mind. And that is the moment your entire relationship with pain begins to change. Most people spend their lives running from discomfort. They avoid rejection, avoid failure, avoid loneliness, avoid struggle. They organize their entire existence around safety, thinking comfort will protect them from suffering. But comfort has never created greatness. Comfort weakens focus. Comfort lowers standards. Comfort convinces you that staying the same is acceptable. And slowly, without realizing it, people begin shrinking their own lives just to avoid temporary pain. They stop taking risks. They stop chasing meaningful goals. They stop believing in themselves, not because they are incapable, but because fear became stronger than purpose. Miyamoto Musashi understood that suffering is unavoidable. Every human being will face loss, disappointment, uncertainty, and pain. The difference is that some people allow hardship to destroy them while others allow hardship to sharpen them. That choice changes everything. Because pain can either become your prison or your training ground. Every difficult moment carries a hidden lesson. Every setback forces you to confront parts of yourself that comfort kept hidden. Your impatience, your ego, your emotional weakness, your fear of uncertainty. Pain exposes everything, and although that truth is uncomfortable, it is also powerful. Because once weakness is exposed, transformation becomes possible. This is why struggle often creates the strongest people, not because suffering itself is beautiful, but because it forces growth. It pushes you beyond the limits of who you used to be. It teaches you endurance, patience, resilience, emotional control. Think about how many people collapse the moment life stops going their way. One rejection destroys their confidence. One failure makes them quit. One difficult season convinces them they are unlucky or cursed. But powerful people think differently. They understand that difficulty is not proof they should stop. Difficulty is proof they are being tested, and every test in life asks the same question: will you break or will you evolve? That question appears again and again throughout your life. When you are tired, when you are heartbroken, when nobody believes in you, when results are slow. When you feel completely alone in your struggle, those moments reveal your true identity, because anybody can stay committed when life feels easy. But discipline becomes real when motivation disappears. Strength becomes real when excuses feel justified. Character becomes real when nobody would blame you for giving up, yet you continue anyway. That is the mentality that changes destinies. Musashi knew that the strongest warriors were not fearless. They simply refused to surrender to fear. They moved forward despite uncertainty. Despite pain, despite discomfort, and that applies to your life right now. You may be carrying invisible battles nobody sees: doubt, anxiety, regret, frustration. The painful feeling that you are capable of more but trapped by your own mind. But do not underestimate what struggle is building inside you. Every painful experience can become fuel if you choose growth instead of victimhood. Every setback can deepen your wisdom instead of your bitterness. Every difficult season can strengthen your mind instead of destroying your spirit. The truth is, life will never stop challenging you. There will always be another obstacle, another loss, another moment that tests your patience and emotional control. But once you stop fearing discomfort, you become incredibly difficult to defeat. Because fear loses power over the person who has already survived pain, and something changes inside you when you truly understand that. You stop panicking during uncertainty. You stop needing perfect conditions before taking action. You stop waiting for life to become easier before deciding to become stronger. Instead, you adapt. You become calmer under pressure, sharper during chaos, more disciplined during struggle, and slowly, the pain that once felt unbearable becomes the very thing that forged your strength. Because the strongest souls are not created through comfort and ease. They are forged through resistance, shaped through discipline, and refined through suffering until nothing can control them except their own will. And when your will becomes stronger than your excuses, life begins to open in ways most people never experience. Because the greatest transformation is not external, it is internal. It is the moment you stop being controlled by impulses, fear, laziness, and emotional chaos. It is the moment you realize that your future is not decided by luck, but by the standards you choose to live by every single day. Most people never define those standards clearly. They drift through life reacting to circumstances, reacting to emotions, reacting to other people's opinions. And eventually they wake up trapped inside a life they never intentionally created. That is why self-mastery is so rare. It demands responsibility. Real responsibility is not blaming your past forever. It is not waiting for someone to rescue you. It is not expecting perfect conditions before deciding to change. Real responsibility is looking honestly at your life and saying, from this moment forward, I will no longer betray myself. That decision changes everything. Because once you stop lying to yourself, your mind becomes sharper. You stop making excuses that secretly destroy your confidence. You stop pretending you have unlimited time. You stop wasting energy on habits that leave you feeling empty. You begin acting like your life actually matters, and it does. Every day you are either building yourself or weakening yourself. There is no neutral path. Every repeated thought shapes your mindset. Every repeated action shapes your identity. Every repeated habit shapes your future. This is why Musashi lived with intention. He understood that a person without inner direction becomes vulnerable to every distraction around them, and distractions are dangerous because they do not destroy your life instantly. They destroy it slowly. One wasted hour becomes one wasted week. One weak habit becomes 1 weak year. One excuse repeated long enough becomes an identity. That is why discipline is an act of self-respect. When you train your mind to follow through, even when it feels difficult, you begin creating trust within yourself. And self-trust changes the way you move through the world. Your posture changes, your decisions change, your energy changes, because deep confidence is built through evidence. Evidence that you can rely on yourself during difficult moments. evidence that you can stay committed even when emotions fluctuate, evidence that you can endure discomfort without collapsing. Most people spend years searching for confidence externally, not realizing it is built internally through disciplined action. And once you understand that, you stop waiting for motivation to save you. You become intentional, you wake up with purpose instead of confusion. You stop negotiating with weakness every morning. You stop letting temporary emotions decide permanent outcomes. Your standards become stronger than your moods. That is the difference between people who dream about transformation and people who actually achieve it. One group waits, the other trains. One group talks, the other acts. One group keeps surrendering to the weaker version of themselves. The other keeps building strength quietly day after day until discipline becomes part of their identity. And this process is not glamorous. Most of the work happens in silence. No applause. No recognition, no instant rewards, just small daily decisions that slowly shape a powerful human being. That is why so few people reach their potential. They underestimate the importance of daily self-control. They want dramatic change while ignoring the small habits creating their current reality. But greatness is never accidental. It is built through repeated choices aligned with purpose. And once you understand this deeply, something inside you begins to awaken. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances. You stop believing your weaknesses are permanent. You realize your mind can be trained, your habits can be rebuilt, and your future can be reshaped through disciplined action. Because the moment you fully master yourself, you stop living randomly. You begin living deliberately. And a person who lives deliberately becomes unstoppable. And once you become unstoppable internally, the world outside you no longer feels impossible to conquer. Not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because you become stronger than the obstacles standing in front of you. That is the difference. The challenges may remain, but your response to them transforms completely. You stop reacting emotionally to every setback. You stop collapsing every time things do not go your way. You stop needing constant reassurance before taking action, because you finally understand that mastery over life begins with mastery over self. Miyamoto Musashi knew this truth deeply. The greatest warriors were not the ones who defeated others. The greatest warriors were the ones who defeated their own weakness, their own fear, their own uncontrolled mind. Because a person who conquers themselves cannot easily be controlled by the world. Think about how many people are trapped by invisible chains, chains of fear, chains of distraction, chains of addiction to comfort, chains of overthinking, chains of seeking approval from people who do not even believe in themselves. And the tragedy is that many people remain trapped for their entire lives because they never realize they hold the key to their own freedom. The key is self-discipline. The key is awareness. The key is responsibility, not temporary motivation, not empty words, not wishful thinking. Real transformation begins the moment you stop negotiating with the habits destroying your future. Because every time you choose discipline over impulse, you reclaim power. Every time you choose focus over distraction, you reclaim power. Every time you act despite fear, you reclaim power. And eventually, those small moments create a completely different human being. A calmer human being, a sharper human being, a more resilient human being. Someone who no longer runs from discomfort but grows through it. This is why self-mastery changes every area of life. Your relationships improve because your emotions are no longer unstable. Your goals become achievable because your actions become consistent. Your mind becomes peaceful because you stop fighting yourself internally every day. And perhaps the most powerful change of all is this: you begin respecting yourself, not because you became perfect, but because you finally stopped abandoning yourself. You stopped breaking promises to yourself repeatedly. You stopped choosing short-term pleasure over long-term purpose. You stopped treating your own potential carelessly. That self-respect creates a different kind of energy, quiet, grounded, unshakable. It is the energy of someone who knows they can survive difficulty because they have already survived themselves. And that is the battle most people never win. They spend years trying to control the world while remaining slaves to their own impulses. They chase success externally while internally living without discipline, direction, or emotional control. But external success without inner mastery eventually collapses. Because if your mind is weak, everything becomes harder, challenges feel heavier, fear feels bigger, distractions become stronger than your goals. You sabotage opportunities because you do not trust yourself enough to handle them. This is why mastering your mind is not optional, it is foundational. Everything in your life grows from the condition of your inner world. Your future grows there, your habits grow there, your courage grows there, your discipline grows there. And if you strengthen that internal world daily, your entire life begins transforming from the inside outward. That transformation does not happen in one perfect moment. It happens through repeated decisions, quiet decisions nobody sees, the decision to stay focused, the decision to stay disciplined. The decision to keep moving forward even when progress feels invisible. Those moments matter more than you realize, because every disciplined action is casting a vote for the person you are becoming. And one day, after enough struggle, enough growth, enough self-control, you wake up and realize something incredible. You are no longer controlled by fear. You are no longer controlled by distraction. You are no longer controlled by weakness. You became the master of your own mind. And the moment that happens, life itself begins to bend in your favor.